Emmanuel Macron's government has announced a major and ambitious transformation of France's complex labor laws aimed at tackling mass unemployment and making the country more competitive in the global market. 5 decrees have been issued, containing what ministers said were concrete and major measures to overhaul and simplify the weighty Code du Travail, which covers every aspect of working life in France. In an interview before the measures were unveiled on Thursday morning, the French president said the country was turning the page on 3 decades of inefficiency. French unions gave a mixed but mostly negative response to the changes, which will reduce their influence at company level, make it easier for firms to hire and fire, and will end the jobs for life culture that French ministers say is a brake on economic growth. Decrees are a rarely used constitutional device that enable the government to effect the changes without a parliamentary debate or vote. The Prime Minister, Edouard Philippe, described the reforms as ambitious, balanced and fair, and said they were aimed at dealing with mass unemployment and repairing the country. He said they gave France a chance to catch up on many lost years. Philippe said Macron and his centrist government had been given a clear mandate by voters in France's presidential and legislative elections to reform the Code du Travail. The government nevertheless engaged in a 3-month consultative process with business leaders, the unions and workers' representatives. Despite the urgency of the situation, we have listened to and respected and discussed the changes with the unions and employers' organizations, Philippe said on Thursday. Philippe and the employment minister, Muriel P, outlined the 4 main pillars of the decrees, which they said were the result of hundreds of hours of talks resulting in 200 pages of measures aimed at adapting the code to a changing world. The priority was to ease constraints on small and medium-sized companies, which employ half of the French workforce, by granting them more flexibility to hire and fire, Philippe and P said. In future, firms with fewer than 20 staff will be able to negotiate directly with employees on working terms and conditions, bypassing the national union branch. A cap has been imposed on industrial tribunal payments and the time limit for complaints reduced from 2 years to 1. Laurent Berger, head of the CFDT union, said his members were concerned about the removal of the union's influence, particularly in small and medium-sized firms.